Hello and welcome to Inside the Paint, the British Basketball League's in-depth look at the games coming to your socials this week. We've got some exciting matchups for you coming for round two. But first, let's take a look at Thursday's game between the London Lions and the Caledonia Gladiators. The game started with Caledonia coming out strong, going point for point with the London Lions for the majority of the first quarter. But the Gladiators couldn't keep up the pace, allowing London to establish an 8-point lead. And things continued to go from bad to worse in the second quarter for Caledonia. London went on a 16-point run before the Gladiators managed to get a basket. And by the end of the half, London led 53-29. Now, the Gladiators came back in the second half with a renewed energy, outscoring London for the quarter, but ultimately couldn't do enough to match the Lions' tempo. And it was Gabriel Esheni who scored the MVP status for the second time. And the London Lions won 93-65, continuing the form from game week one. What a game that was for them. Mike Tuck, Ovie Soko alongside me. Mike, it was good to see the London Lions really put a performance out that shows that they are intentional this season.
Yeah, definitely. You know, first home game for them in front of their home fans, and they really came out that second quarter. Great job on the defensive end, keeping the Caledonia Gladiators very quiet and able to build that really big lead at halftime and gave them all the confidence moving forward.
And that's the thing about the London Lions. All eyes are on them, Ovie, especially off the back of last season's treble.
All eyes are on them. They have a new unit that, they have to get acclimated to the way things run very, very soon. And yeah, they're going to just try and take off from where they left off last season as far as winning at home and then taking it abroad.
Okay, well, let's hear from the losing coach side. It's Gareth Muddy from Caledonia Gladiators.
Coach, you guys get off to a great start. You go up by 1 point. The Lions go on a 25-0 run. What went wrong for you guys?
For us, it's more about being consistent. You can't take a couple of minutes off against a team like this. They share the ball really well. Their defensive intensity, as soon as you put your head down, they punish you for it. And I think we did that in that couple of minutes spell there where they blew the game open, and it was difficult for us to get back into it. Third quarter, we came back again. We played some good basketball. We had good spells throughout the game. But like I said, it's got to be consistent. You can't take plays off. You can't take any possessions off. It's about being consistent every single play and being focused every single play.
And you guys aspire to get to this level that the Lions are playing with, in particular in Europe. Coming out of this game, what parts of your game do you feel like you got to get better at to reach that level?
Like, once again, it's the same, right? Being consistent every play. Like, we can't take plays off no matter when you're Europe. It's the same thing. Everyone doesn't make mistakes. When you make a couple of mistakes, they punish you for it, offensively and defensively. So for me, it's about not making any mistakes, being consistent in every single play, and then when things don't go in your way, keep your head up, continue to keep fighting.
Thanks for your time, Coach. Good luck in Turkey.
Yeah, that's going to be tough, isn't it, to be able to pick yourself off the back of that and then really go and then perform in Europe. But they're going to have to learn how to do that now, aren't they?
Yeah, I talked about it before. It's got to be short-term memory loss. They got to forget about this game really quickly, but also go back, watch the tape, and learn from their mistakes. I think, Coach Gareth Murray hit the nail on the head there, talking about consistency. Basketball's a 40-minute game, and the first two performances we've seen them play, we've seen them play about maybe 25, 30 minutes of basketball. I mean, in the first game, they had a really slow start, and now in this second game, the second quarter, they weren't really there. So they just got to learn about staying consistent and playing every single possession the same way.
And that is important for the Gladiators. They have to show ambition in Europe, and that starts actually in the league. They have to be able to maintain that in the league.
100%. And again, just to allude on what Gary was talking about, the consistency is going to be key for them with as many games that they're going to play this year and games coming thick and fast. They're going to have to be able to, take the good, take the bad, and get on to the next.
Yeah, you speak about games coming thick and fast. On Friday night, we are being treated to a doubleheader starting in the SGS College Arena, where the Bristol Flyers will host the Newcastle Eagles. Looks good. It looks like a green revolution has come to the British Basketball League, with Brad Green from the Bristol Flyers and Taj Green from the Newcastle Eagles dominating their respective games last week. Both men walked away with a double-double and an MVP title. Who's going to come out on top this Friday? Former Newcastle Eagle Drew Lasker. What's your prediction for this game, Drew?
Well, man, this game is so intriguing. First of all, you got Malcolm Delpeche going back home to Bristol. So will he get cheers or will he get boos? And he'll have his hands full with Brad Green. But it's a great test for both. Newcastle finally getting on the road, so we get to really see what they're about. And then for the Flyers, it's their first real test because last week they didn't get pushed that much. So, I mean, it's tough. I got to be biased, though, right? I got to go with the Eagles because I picked them second, right?
It's true. And we wouldn't expect anything less from you, Drew, a Newcastle Eagles win that Drew's predicting there. But, you know, for the Eagles, they're going to want to be able to come and really show their pedigree, aren't they, Mike?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is
Thanks,
the season
guys.
for them. And Coach Studel, I think he's got a lot of pressure on him right now to show up and to perform. And they've put the budget together to get this team. And very interesting their tactics over the summer. Not really going for any kind of new signings, but picking up guys from around the league that have already proven themselves and know that they can play at this level.
Yeah, absolutely. Plenty more games, of course, across the weekend. The Plymouth City Patriots will travel to the Morningside Arena for our second game on Friday night. And last week, Leicester Riders lost to Cheshire Phoenix by a staggering 24 points. This isn't what we're used to seeing after last season where Leicester went up against the London Lions in the final. And Ovie, you were in the studio with Rob Pasanostro. Now, tell us, what could Coach Rob say after a loss like that in the locker room?
Coach Rob would have definitely laid into those guys. Just knowing the competitor he is and how much time he spends on preparing the guys for every game. He goes in with a solid game plan, and I think he's going to have to sort of wake these guys up and let them know, look, this isn't college anymore. This was one of the things we spoke about in length last week. We went into the youth and how does he handle that? How does he deal with it? And he said that's one of his biggest dilemmas this year is, okay, getting these young guys to buy in, but to understand that what he's telling them isn't just fairy dust. It's not fool's gold. It's the real thing. And he's done it, and he's had really good players that have been successful listening to him.
And that's the main thing, isn't it? It's about coming out and actually putting out a positive reaction. Leicester Riders really have to do that. And I guess Coach Rob is the guy to make sure they can do that.
I think there might have been some clipboards being thrown in that locker room after the game. I mean, I played against Rob for 13 seasons, and I've won some games against him. I've lost some games against him, and what I could definitely tell is that Rob hates losing more than he likes winning, and I think that's going to be a frustrating one for him. 20-point loss at home, first game of the season, coming from the Leicester Riders. Very successful club over the years, but Coach Rob is the type of guy that I don't think he'll make any changes just yet. I think he'll stick with the roster. He knows he's got some talent there. He knows that, even though they did lose that game, they didn't play a bad game necessarily, shot the ball pretty well, just a few breakdowns on the defensive end, and Cheshire were shooting the ball, from long range really well. So, Rob, I think he'll just got to stick with it. It's the first game of the season. It's a long season. Just got to stick with it.
It's a long season indeed. Like we say, plenty of games. And moving on to Saturday night, it'll be the Manchester Giants that host London Lions at the National Performance Basketball Centre. Now, Manchester failed to score in the first 6 minutes of the final quarter in their game against the Gladiators last Sunday. So what do they need to do to change up before they go up against the Lions? Let's ask former London Lion Azania Stewart. Azania, this is the second game in 3 days. What role will that play when they travel up to Manchester?
Yeah, I think that's going to be really difficult. We spoke about it. It's a lot of minutes, but they were able to share the minutes and the load. They went deep into their bench, and I think that's an important part as they start to go deep into the season.
Well, I think the interesting thing from Manchester's point of view is we saw last week that their best performances, came from guys who've been in the league. An excellent performance from Evan Walsh, who moved from Leicester. Jamal Anderson played well. Legend Robertin, the only other guy in double figures. Manchester are going to want some more from their newcomers this weekend.
Yeah, and they played well. They went on a 14-1 run. If they can build on that, they played 3 quarters pretty well. If they can play 40 minutes of better basketball, but they've got their hands full versus the London Lions.
That will be the key. Defensively, do they have enough to hang on to this London Lions team?
Okay, well, Dan and Azania, thank you very much. To close out the weekend, the Cheshire Phoenix will host the Sheffield Sharks this Sunday. Cheshire have won 8 out of 10 games against Sheffield on their home court in all competitions. A former Sheffield Shark, Mike Tucker, alongside us. Mike, why are the Sharks struggling away from home, do you think?
Well, I mean, if you're talking about this season, obviously only one game. It was a tough one against Newcastle. And I think There was a lot of foul trouble going on in that game as well. But 8 out of the last 10 at Cheshire. I think Cheshire is just one of those gyms. It's a tough place to play. It's loud. They pack it up with some really great fans up there. So they've had our number in that gym. But I think this is the year. This is the year Sheffield's going up there to right some wrongs.
And I love the positivity, but I'm going to bring Ovie in now to maybe burst that bubble a little bit. When you think about when we think about what Cheshire have done, especially last week, like they upset. Did they upset the game, didn't they?
Upset City. They have a huge talent in Ray over there, the MVP last week. But what I was just more impressed with was, one, their depth. I think Cheshire's a team that could surprise a lot of teams around the league this year. Going in to Riders, which is notoriously a very, very difficult gym to play in. I feel like I might be 0% in Leicester. I think the only time I played up there, I lost. So it's a very tough place to play. They haven't lost, I think, in the last 11 seasons at home in the home opener. But it just shows sort of this Cheshire team, they mean business. And I think as the year progresses, they're a team that more teams are going to take much more seriously.
Okay, well, it shall be seen. Ovie, Mike, thank you very much. Remember, you can watch all of the games live on the British Basketball League YouTube channel. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. Drop us a like, send us a comment, and I'll see you next time.